too crazy. Everyone's hearing you right now as we are now live on YouTube and Twitter. Okay. Cool. Oh no, you gotta be freaking kidding me. Are you freaking kidding me? I just verified it.
Sure, yeah. But I was just reminding you of where we had seen each other before. Oh no. I'm here to...
Stupid son of
I'm
a
not going to
gun.
be enemies with people who are doing
The mics are hot.
Yeah, we're having a great conversation.
Okay, hold on. Hold on 1 second. There's like a...
Yeah.
Hold on. There's like a stupid... I already did the stupid security thing.
There you go.
Okay. Are we live now?
What's up, y'all? Jesus 2024, mega, period. Free Joe Biden. We not voting for Joe Biden. Free Barack Obama. Period.
You already know what it is, man. Black MAGA, you know. Well, Vic, you heard him.
Don't see.
Hey, Trump 2024, man.
So, yep, that is Clint's girlfriend, and she just got a new boyfriend. That's why he's sad and not here. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. My name is Luke Rudowski here of thebestpoliticalshow.com, and we will be going live for the next 2 hours discussing all the latest and craziest stuff developing right now. As, of course, there's a lot of things in the news right now, specifically surrounding Joe Biden, who, by the way, is neck and neck with Donald Trump in the polls, but will he make it to this upcoming presidential election as Vladimir Putin is visiting a new best friend buddy in North Korea? What are the larger implications of that? As you will not believe what the FBI is visiting people now for at their homes. We're going to be talking about that plus a lot more all here on this independent media broadcast for the next 2 hours. So please share this broadcast with your friends and family members, as it's more imperative than ever and really means a lot to us that you help us get through this algorithm. There's a lot of pressures usually put on us. There's a lot of usual restrictions. There's a lot of finger pointing at us that is not really fun to deal with, but you guys help us deal with that by just subscribing, sharing this broadcast, and of course getting it out there to the general public. Hey guys, everyone can hear you. Just a heads up, as we are live here at PorkFest, a beautiful festival filled with some really incredible minds that are going to be joining us for today's conversation. The first of which, next to my right, is the one and only Martha Bueno. Martha,
Hey.
How are you? Thank you so much for coming here and being a part of this broadcast. For the people who don't know you, who are you and how would you introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I am Martha Bueno. For this episode, I will be Luke's co-host, and I am Bueno for Miami on Twitter and IG, and that's pretty much who I am.
Awesome. Jeremy Kaufman is also in the house. A little bit of a controversial figure, but a great figure doing a lot of amazing stuff. You have a lot of crazy stories, especially when it comes to crypto and free speech platforms that you had to deal with, so we're going to be talking about that. But for the people who don't know you, who are you and how would you introduce yourself?
I am someone with unlimited crazy stories. I'm here representing the greatest state in the country, New Hampshire, soon to be an independent country. And I'm also here representing the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire and the cryptocurrency industry, as well as Libertarians for Trump. So there's a whole bunch of hats I'm wearing, including one of Davy Crockett's.
I like the hat. As soon as he came in, he was like, hat on and hat off. I was like, you keep the hat on. I want the hat on.
The hat is so you, Luke.
I know, I'm jealous. I'm totally jealous.
At any point, you feel like
I might.
I
might.
Boys are into sharing.
Hey, Martha, calm down. You spicy lady. You spicy Latina lady.
But this is PorkFest. This is Libertarian Burning Man. You got to bring some costumes.
That's a perfect way of describing it. And we'll get into PorkFest and all the kind of festivities and all the really fun things happening here. As, of course, I think this is your first time on this show. Richard Grove has been on the show before. Always great to have you as well.
I'm impressed that you could put all the ones and zeros together to make this happen here. This is pretty nice. Thank you for the invite.
We actually had help, so it's not totally me. It's also the people at Alpine Gold that helped us set up this studio. So shouts out to them. They do like little gold backs things, which are pretty interesting and pretty awesome. That a lot of people here use to barter and trade lots of cash, and then people people also use these things as a form of kind of monetary trading. So shouts out to them, because like these shows wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for them. So check out getintogoldnow.com and check out that sponsor, as of course it's important to support the businesses that support us, and they're one of the businesses that of course do this in an incredible way, and we're deeply appreciative of them, as we're going to be doing another show Thursday with, I think it's going to be Chris Martinson of Peak Prosperity. That's going to be 6 p.m. Eastern, as well as I think the head of this company that's going to be here in studio with us. And then Friday, Spike Cohan is going to be on, and I think we're going to be doing that show 4 p.m. as we're also doing a nature hike here in New Hampshire for members of LukeUnfiltered.com. I forgot to tell you guys all about that, because if you're a member, you also get the ability to call into the show and, of course, get the ability to ask us questions in about an hour and a half from now. So if you haven't signed up, sign up. We do a lot of cool things, and we're really trying to build the culture of doing really cool, awesome, healthy things. So this nature hike for these members is going to be really fun this Friday, 12 noon, and I think I already got the perfect spot picked out, which is going to be really fun and really incredible, and truly one of the most beautiful, one of the most amazing places that you guys will be participating in. And even if you can't make it, it really does mean a lot that you guys help spur on this culture, as you guys should also check out mysuperchat.com. It's a way for your super chats to actually show up on screen and to be a part of the conversation. So mysuperchat.com is the website that you guys should check out if you guys want to super chat. We, of course, will be reading as many super chats as we can throughout these conversations, as I think it's important to just get into the first story, and that is the larger elder abuse that is happening with the Biden administration that is still wanting him to be the next president of the United States for nearly 5 freaking years. This man right here, president of the United States, are you freaking kidding me? As we have this latest Biden gaffe that a lot of people are kind of bewildered about what in the world is really going on here.
Thanks to all the members of Congress and Homeland Security Secretary. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that guy. I don't know about you guys, but there's nothing more that makes me say 4 more years than what we just saw of Joe Biden. What do you think?
I agree, actually. I have had some elderly, demented people in my family at one point in time, and this is a democracy. And if we're going to, make progress as a country, we need to show that mentally retarded and incompetent people can be president.
I think it is very brave. It is very bold, and that's one way of thinking about it. But
We're so inclusive.
But on the flip side,
Right. It's great.
It's about inclusivity.
yeah, I
Wow,
mean,
you hate elderly people
Yeah.
who are incompetent. They can't be president. Why?
Biden has a new running mate. They announced a new running mate. It's Biden Bidet, clean up the crap in D.C.
There you go. It's a very crap-filled administration, to say the least here. As of course, a lot of people are saying that the president of the United States poops his pants all the time, but behavior is weird. It's bewildering. But on the flip side, it also makes a lot of people kind of realize, hey, maybe the president isn't as powerful as people say he is. Maybe he's not the ultimate decider. Maybe he's not really calling the shots here. Maybe there's some kind of secretive kind of organization behind the scenes that's really pulling the strings here. And you could have a senile old man who's not really there, who's crapping his pants all the time, become the president of the United States. I think that's the biggest realization. And if there's ever going to be a big white pill moment from this kind of administration, which is horrible. They're horrible on every aspect of their administration. There's not one thing that they could stand on. This is why they're kind of campaigning on, we're not Trump. Okay, what are you going to do? We're not Trump.
They're
What policies are you going to put?
Wars.
Yeah, and
they're going to conscript women. What are they doing?
Yeah, the war policies are some of the biggest concerning policies, and we're going to get into it in a little bit, because there's a lot of libertarians now that are going to be voting for Donald Trump. There's a lot of people who are saying, you know what, he's got my vote because he says all the right things. He's talking about abolishing the income tax, and I'll leave the question to you, but we have more videos. These videos never end, as of course this is another one that we have here with Joe Biden sitting down and being asked questions by the press. This was his response. Yeah, what? Huh? We're live right now. What's the problem?
Microphones are having problems apparently from the chat.
No, I'm looking at the audio, and audio should be
Everything
fine.
literally says turn up their mics.
Jeremy's volume is much lower than yours. Thank you very much.
You'd like
Jeremy,
me to
let's
start
get a mic
singing
check from you.
songs,
I think,
so this I should just give a speech now about how great New Hampshire is while we're checking the volume. This is the greatest place in the world. Anyone who's never been out here to New Hampshire and PorkFest.
I can't believe I've ever asked to raise a microphone for you. So there you go.
The first time.
First time for everything.
Martha, do you have events like this in Florida? Is there an equivalent event for you in Florida, like PorkFest?
Like PorkFest, no.
There is not. No.
We're just scoring points live. And Luke, how do you feel about New Hampshire?
I love New Hampshire. It's an incredible state. I lived here for a short bit of time, but for RV living, it's not the best with the perpetual winters here. But I'm all for the Free State Project. I'm all for the kind of larger culture here. I'm all for PorkFest here, and I think I've been coming to PorkFest for about 12 years now.
So one of the cool things about this event is this week, I can introduce you to someone who is literally an elected state rep. We'll sit down, we'll figure out how to fix the laws, and we'll literally do it. I'm serious. We'll literally call it Luke Witkowski's RV law.
Okay.
We'll draft it here this week, and we will introduce it the next term that we can.
And what's the law going to? What's the law?
I don't know how to fix it. I'm not nerdy enough on our New Hampshire RV law. I didn't even know we had a problem. I don't know every aspect of the law. That would make me a statist.
Okay. I'm not a fan of laws, to be personally fair.
But what I'm saying is, what's cool is like we have the ability.
Why do you need a law for RVs?
Well, maybe it's repealing laws. But the point is, let's figure out how to fix it, because we have people here who actually can, and some of them come out to festivals like this, and they're here.
No, I really do love the kind of ethos and the culture that's being built here, and I think it's critically important. And I think on a micro level, especially when it comes to the communities being built here, that's the larger solutions that should be kind of talked about. The meetings at the Quill, the kind of conversations that are happening, the people that are there for each other, helping each other move in, helping each other with kind of problems, creating produce and foods. Bardo Farms is an awesome farm down here that produces some really incredible food that when I lived down here, I was taking full advantage of. I was living on a pig farm here. I was learning a lot. This was pretty much my kind of escape from New York City during the bad years when, of course, we weren't allowed to have freedoms and I had to have haircuts in back alleys. So I fled to the Free State Project, and I fled here because the PorkFest really didn't make a kind of impression on me. I came here by accident, actually, once I got banned from Canada. I got banned for 10 years. Couldn't travel to Canada, which sucked because I really wanted to cover the G20 there, and it kind of all worked out because the people who did cover G20 were like literally put in gulags, arrested, abused, and beat up by police officers, which has happened before at previous events that I covered. But I was kind of banned there, and then someone online said, hey, there's this crazy kind of hippie event with a bunch of weirdos you should kind of check out. And I was like, I don't know. I'm kind of just pissed off at being detained by the Canadian authorities and the Canucks that literally rifled through every single piece of clothing I had and were absolutely totally abusive in the way that they were acting towards me. And I felt tired and I felt exhausted, and I said, you know what? Screw, I'm just going to check out this festival. And I came here, and there was these crazy guys at like 4 o'clock in the morning with chainsaws that were ringing bells and giving off these kind of crazy food dishes that were very weird and emblematic of private parts that were pretty hilarious. It was crazy. It was wild. There was internal fighting. It was like a libertarian party, but in its fullest kind of ethos, living next to each other, fighting each other, and providing some grade A entertainment. So I loved it. And then once the big bad kind of sickness happened in New York City, I'm like, that's it. I got to get out of here. I need to get out of here. Fled here, and then I met some really great people, Silver Dave, Jay Noon, and they kind of held their little man camp where they taught me how to work on my truck. They taught me how to use certain tools. We did a survival apocalypse camp here. We did a lot of really fun events, and just sadly, when I'm in that RV, those walls are so thin. I just can't. It's just freezing. And Florida now, Miami, I do believe has the larger kind of cultural ethos. It is a red city. It is building up a larger culture and a creative kind of energy that New York City used to have. That I'm kind of very lucky to be a part of, because anyone a part of a larger kind of the entertainment industry, the podcast industry is there, and it's just so much easier to be able to produce content, have guests on my show, and really just represent another free state that I think is incredible, Florida. But I think Martha will agree with me. Florida's kind of full.
Florida is not full, and it is pretty free. So I mean,
we don't need to turn this into a measuring.
We can fight. We can whip it out.
Because Florida's definitely going to win.
We all know.
Yeah.
Well, look, guess
Florida's
what?
too hot.
One of the benefits of New Hampshire, we literally only need to win 1 out of 20 people to be winning over time, compared to Florida, because we have 20 times the population. That's part of why we don't take over so much here. But most importantly, we can all agree. I'm trying to bring unity to this conversation because I'm the unity guy. Everyone knows me. Jeremy Kaufman loves unity. And the unity point here is leave bad places.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have to specifically love one state. If you're in one of the 45 states that are terrible, get out of those.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying, I remember talking to, I forgot who it was, but it was a major kind of Trump person. And he says, I love it when people move down to my state, but not from key swing states, which are going to be determining this election cycle. And there is something to say about the larger kind of bifurcation of society, because it does seem like there's now two kinds of states out there: free states and socialist, communist states that rob you of any kind of life dignity. And the swing states, this election cycle, those swing states will be deciding this election. Florida won't. New Hampshire, maybe.
New Hampshire is a swing state.
Yeah.
And I'm a vote for Trump libertarian, but if you're caring about the presidency, I also think you're thinking about this the wrong way.
Yeah.
Like, I'd love to get Ross Freed and the small things you might get with a Trump presidency, but like what the fact that these are your choices is what tells you that national politics is not going to be the answer. And so you need to be looking for other mechanisms, which I think are local mechanisms. Find people who share your values, get a density of as many of them as possible near you. We don't need to, I mean, again, New Hampshire wins, so we'll just mute you if you try to disagree. But I don't know how to do that. There's buttons in here.
Don't press them.
The point is, leave bad places, find people who share your values, and if the more that happens,
find community.
What's going on here? Are you trying to suppress my speech?
Let's talk about whether you should vote. We can have some deep conversations.
Find communities.
Here on air.
And I think the best.
I actually think you should.
Yeah.
You're an exception. That's why I'm not about strict rules.
Yeah.
The point is you have tests. It's not about gender.
Well, I do think communities are important, and I think New Hampshire has a really great community.
I just said you should vote. You're insulted.
Are we doing the 19th Amendment argument now?
No, I'm disagreeing. I think Martha should vote.
I should vote. He's giving me the authority to vote, which is like, these are so far out of libertarian ideology.
Libertarians don't even believe in voting.
This is true.
So.
But I think a lot of libertarians will, and I think they're going to be absolutely voting for Donald Trump now, which is really interesting. And I think the conversation is definitely very kind of clear, especially with the Biden administration, as it does look like they're now trying to excuse a lot of Biden's kind of old dementia, old kind of behavior on manipulated cheap fakes. Yes, this is the actual spokesperson for Biden's administration saying this.
There seems to be a sort of rash of videos that have been edited to make the president appear especially frail or mentally confused. I'm wondering if the White House is especially worried about the fact that this appears to be a pattern that we're seeing more often.
Yeah, and I think you all have called this the cheap fakes video, and that's exactly what they are. They are cheap fakes video. They are done in bad faith, and some of your news organization have been very clear, have stressed that these the right-wing critics of the president have a credibility problem because of the fact checkers have repeatedly caught them pushing misinformation, disinformation, and so we see this, and this is something coming from your part of the world, calling them cheap fakes and misinformation. And I'll quote the Washington Post, what they wrote. They wrote about this, and they said how Republicans use misleading videos to attack Biden in a 24-hour period. And to their credit, we have a conservative Washington Examiner did call them out as well, calling out the New York Post. Ironically, several recent cheap fakes actually attack the president for thanking troops. That is what they're attacking the president for. Both in Normandy, this happened, and again in Italy. And I think that it tells you everything that we need to know about how desperate how desperate Republicans are here. And instead of talking about the president's performance in office, and what I mean by that is his legislative wins, what he's been able to do for the American people across the country, we're seeing these deep fakes, these manipulated videos. And it is, again, done in bad faith.
Yeah, cheap fakes, and it's because the Republicans are desperate. Are you kidding me? What kind of Orwellian explanation is this? It's ridiculous, it's insane, and it just shows you how pretty desperate they are.
I think they are very desperate. I mean, how else are you going to play this off, though, right? If you have this guy that you're saying that he is totally competent to do these things, and then he's clearly not, how else do you play it off? You have to blame the deep fakes.
It's all weekend at Bernie's anyway, dude. I mean, they're just propping him up. It just shows how little decision-making the president actually has in the power game.
I think it's interesting how easy it is to have, whatever bubble that reinforces whatever you want. And I'm not even necessarily about that, but like these people they manage to maintain it, And they manage to maintain this world in which Biden is a competent president or, whatever else they need to believe about this guy.
That's professionally gaslighting their own audience.
But I think a lot of people kind of opt into it and they prefer it. I'm not cause when you start to believe it requires this sort of false consciousness and everyone's being tricked, that approaches Marxism for me. I think a lot of people select themselves into it because they actually want it to be true.
What happened? What, Martha?
I think the microphones are still having...
I think it's a little bit better than it was before. Don't turn it off. Just keep them on, and then if anything.
I think it's Rich's mic too. Might be.
No. I think the audio is fine. I was just told by one of our producers that.
Speak up, Rich. Speak up.
I didn't do it. It wasn't me.
Yeah, but. Yes, we have more technical producers here potentially that could help us out here. As of course, it looks like their microphones are a little bit low, so we'll figure that out. But as we were talking about specifically this key issue here, I do believe that there will be a portion of the population that's actually going to believe it. I think there's going to be a portion of the population that are kind of old, that watch the corporate media, that don't watch anything else, that will see this video and be like, oh, the Trumpsters are creating deep fakes to make Biden look bad. I'm like, I can't believe it, but people will believe what they want to believe in, and I think we don't understand it because we're not from their kind of political understanding. We don't come from their kind of larger political perspective, but I think once people are kind of inundated and surrounded with Trump boogeyman, Trump bad, Trump's going to do this, they're capable of believing that he could do anything, and I think this is the kind of danger, since two people and two groups of individuals are living in two separate realities, and how do you ever kind of walk this back, as I think we're on a pathway, as kind of Tim Pool puts it, towards a kind of regional conflict more and more that is creating a larger bifurcation that is becoming more evident, especially in the kind of larger social media algorithms, because we're in our own kind of social media echo chamber, and other people are in their other social media echo chamber as well, where they only hear different opinions and perspectives that only re-incentivize their own kind of own political biases and ideologies. How do we fight that? How do we combat that? I don't know, but I think it's something that we need to address more than ever.
I don't even think we do. I think it's almost kind of good. Like we're instead of, it's the first anti-homogenizing force that we've had in some time. Like mass media has mostly been a homogenizing force in most places, in most countries for a long time. And social media is an anti-homogenizing force. This does mean it enables people with terrible ideas. I don't know what swears we can say. I'll say the toaster sexual haver.
Okay, that's better. That's pretty good.
The idea of
that's
someone
good.
who would have sex with toasters, it's like in any reasonable sized community, you'd be like, well, that guy's insane. But now they can go online and find 10,000 of their friends, and they can all reinforce their beliefs and how great it is to copulate with a toaster. And so this is what social media enables, for better or worse.
Yeah, not a medical professional, but it might not be good to copulate with a toaster.
Yeah, I don't even know. I don't know the truth of that matter. Maybe it is good for you. Maybe they're correct.
They didn't have that problem
do you
in the
have
last
an
Civil
opinion?
War.
So, but this is what social media lets us do, for better or worse. And I think it's also better because you get people with better, it's not like we like the status quo. So if you want something new to happen, it does enable it in a way that wasn't possible before, but it also lets the toaster people.
But if I look at the similarities between the American Civil War and what they're doing today, What they did back then was divide and conquer, and it was slavery versus abolition. And the Republicans were the first abolitionist party, and slavery was being promoted by the Democrats, and there was a whole bunch of splitting. And the historical document is published in 1861 that I'm going to reference, and it's the Home Letters of Solomon de Rothschild. It's that book. I gave it to you, Luke. You got that Solomon de Rothschild letter. So he was a banking scion in America, and he was staying with all the richest and most powerful families in the North and in the South. And then he wrote letters home to his family. And he had this one striking description. And this goes up to the beginning of the Civil War. He's writing these letters. He said the North and South will head toward each other like locomotives under a full head of steam. There will be no vanquished. Both sides will lose. And basically, it's an opportunity for a lot of chaos. And so the description of how they got peaceful people from the center that didn't want anything to do with the fire eaters or the slavers, they kept becoming more and more extreme in like conducting terrorism on each other, and that polarized people. So it's polarization, just like we see today in social media. And social media is the answer, but we have to get to the point where we can actually have a discussion, discover what each side's perspective has and holds that we don't have, and then be able to have a discussion of understanding. And we don't always have to agree, but at least we need to talk. We need to learn how to talk to each other about our differences in a way that doesn't bring on violence, because that's just admission of intellectual bankruptcy.
Well, I don't want the violence, but otherwise I kind of like disagree a little bit in the sense that I want to accelerate. Like I don't want to change minds. I just want to accelerate the sorting of people who disagree. And we don't have to care as much about changing minds, and we can just accelerate this sort of sorting that's already happening.
Are you promoting Bill Ottman's joint now? I just kept bringing up Minds right there.
Bill Ottman's a great guy. Minds is a great product, so I am a fan. But that was unintentional fandom. I should note #sponsored.
Bill's great. We should have him on the show. Yeah. He does some really awesome stuff with Ian Crossland and Minds, and they recently had a big event in Austin that I was a part of. That was pretty fun to be a part of. We're getting some news also from Rumble that all of Rumble is essentially down right now. They just posted update. We are aware that some users are experiencing intermittent issues with Rumble. We are currently investigating and will report back with an update soon. But as of right now, it looks like we are not on Rumble because of technical difficulties, which have kind of been happening a lot, which is one of the reasons why we're also multi-streaming to different kind of platforms. And we probably still will leave this platform in about 40 minutes, and then we'll head over to twitter.com/LukeWeAreChange, and then continue the conversation there in a totally kind of unfiltered way. But this larger kind of topic of divide and conquer, I think it's an important one, because I think it's coming to a head this election cycle. And a lot of right-wingers are kind of shocked and surprised, specifically when it comes to the poll numbers. As the Daily Mail today is reporting that Biden just got a major boost in a national poll, as him and Trump are neck and neck right before this upcoming presidential election.
Does still mean what I think it does? Because it doesn't seem to fit in that sentence.
What does?
Boost. Maybe it means something else.
Yes.
He took a boost. I don't know. He had a major boost happen to him.
I don't buy it. Have you guys ever met a real life Biden supporter, like out in the wild? Like I don't really. You have?
Only in terrariums.
But it's great that you have, like, that's what you want. You want a world where you don't know they exist. That's what you want to be building.
I was just in Boston.
Kudos to you.
Yeah. I was just in Boston. My members video isn't up because there's internet problems here, but I'm going to be uploading it right after the show. I did a little walk and conquer territory. Toaster-loving flags everywhere. Just a lot of people who are drugged out. A lot of people who aren't doing too well. So I could see those places being bastions of kind of liberal ideologies, because that's where they kind of foment. That's where they kind of come out of. They come out of MIT. They come out of Harvard. Mr. Epstein had offices at Harvard there and was influencing some of the minds, as well as the larger intelligence agencies, when it comes to the larger institutions in our country that are setting up this mind virus in these college campuses that are rotting the minds of these people. And when we live in Miami's a red place. We hang out with a lot of really cool Cubans and people who don't trust government. But when you're in Boston, when you're in New York City, when you're in California, you do see a lot of these people. And I think they're more fervent. They doubled down more than ever. And I think it's not that they're for Biden. I think that they're against Trump. And they're so petrified and scared of Trump that they're willing to do anything and everything to make sure that he doesn't become the next president of the United States.
Including voting for a man who clearly can't manage isn't there. And I mean, I think the whole Biden thing just shows us how little a president actually matters. And, you know, like, as if Biden can do it, my dog can probably do it too. You know, like, seriously, Biden's not there.
No,
Some things
he's
your
not.
dog can do, Biden can't do, actually.
Well, that's true.
Yes,
The
like
deep
poop in
state's
the
the
right
real-
place.
Yeah. Well, the deep state's the real president anyway.
Yes.
You know, or
Yeah,
whatever,
exactly.
whatever you want to call it, the pervasive administration,
Nothing
whatever that
shows
consistent.
that we have a deep state more than the current situation. Period. Like, it's obvious. If that man can run an entire country of 330 million people, then what do we need him for?
Yeah, and that's why it's like, I know it's like a fantasy, so I'm not even trying to say that it's real, but it's like, what if? Like, what if?
What if what?
Like, what if Trump really is bad? Like, what if that's real? It's probably not real.
Oh,
Like,
I
he's
have such a
probably,
big fantasy
you
about
know,
that,
I
about
know,
Trump
like,
being
what
like, you know what, I'm almost 80.
Like, what if Trump was mad and was just like,
Yeah.
Vivek, go slash some people? You know, like,
Like
what
the
if that
Department of
actually
Education
happened?
and taxes, and let's go free Ross. Like,
But it's fake. Moves to New Hampshire instead. But it could be, like, or Florida. That's fine. We know
how
you're talking
sure
about, but, like,
are you
what
that
if?
it's fake?
Well, again, I get nothing either way. It's like I either vote for gay race communism or gay straight communism or whatever. No, so
Trump is
straight
holding
race
a
communism.
LGBTQ fundraiser with his wife. I think the Daily Mail. I just saw an article about it today, actually. So
So there's not even a choice. It's like you're just. It's like it's 1% of something or 10%. You know, it's like I'm not. You're not getting necessarily something for sure, but you have a chance. You're at least like you got a lottery ticket. You got nothing with anything else. And I vote. I will say I always vote. So you know, I'm not. If you're gonna vote, then you color in Trump.
Will you be voting for Trump this year?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. What about you, Richard? I know that's I'm putting you on the spot
Just
there.
say it on national.
First off,
yeah.
free Ross. Jeremy had said earlier that he was a Trump libertarian, right? And I assume you're a libertarian who's voting for Trump. But heretofore, it was like a Ron Paul libertarian was a libertarian who believed in the politics and philosophy of Ron Paul. I'm a Michael Badnarik libertarian. And after he ran for president, he quit because he's like, the whole political aspect doesn't match the philosophy. And that historically has been the problem. I did a 20-hour podcast episode a couple years ago on the history of the libertarian ethos and philosophy and the technology that brought about the free market, all the way up to like the Tom Woods, Nick Sarwark drama at the end of the episode. So the agorism aspect, right? SEK3, all these beautiful ideas of how we can live peacefully with each other and defend ourselves intellectually and physically and not aggress on other people. That's a peaceful world where people have freedom. But that world doesn't exist in the heretofore LP party with Sarwark and I mean just the whole schism that just happened. Like,
all that stuff.
Yeah.
There's
I would have voted for you, Rechtenwald, Dave Smith.
I wasn't running for anything.
Yeah,
but
I know.
there's a
had
bunch
votes.
of there are some naive libertarians out there. I'm not saying dropping out can be a good personal strategy for you, but there is no path to maintaining libertarianism that involves simultaneously there being no power and power being wielded by no one. Like that's not what we're trying to do
We're
here.
not trying to map utopia because utopia doesn't exist.
We're trying to say there's going to be some kind of power structure. We'd like it to be thinner. We'd like the government to be very thin, but to the extent that there is one, it needs to be libertarians controlling it, and that's what we're trying to do in New Hampshire. That's the goal. It's we strip it down, maintain your ends, maintain your beliefs, but anarchy is not around the corner, and to the extent that you can get there, I think is like kind of an open question.
Well, I think what you guys have done in New Hampshire over the past 20 years is more like creating Linux, because the operating system that they give us of government has too much surveillance and all this other stuff built in. We need an operating system, great, but it needs to have a smaller footprint in our lives and less power over us with violence.
Well, I think it's early. Again, people. Again, this argument about like I would assume the Florida goal is also like much farther than where we are. I mean, because the federal government is most of everything, and as long as this sort of weight is around our necks, it doesn't matter that your state is marginally better than another state. It's who can escape.
You guys keep talking.
that.
I'm going to quiet down the people behind us really quick.
No, So are you a national believer? Are we going to be saved nationally? What's your optimistic hope?
Of course not. We're never going to be saved nationally. That's like a pipe dream. But
We need borders.
Do we need orders from
Borders.
Borders. Oh God, really?
Orders with a B.
We're gonna start that conversation.
No, I'm just
Do we
asking
need
because-
borders? No, we
I'll
don't
talk
need
about
borders.
anything.
Because
We don't.
Ukraine is a very important border conflict. There's another place is also a very important border conflict. But over here, it's like a whole different conversation than where our taxpayer dollars go, or the thieved dollars. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So that I think that's a bigger issue about the thieved dollars than the borders themselves.
It's a large
yeah.
one, yeah.
I remember I used to write in Man Bear Pig during federal elections.
Excuse me?
Man Bear Pig. That used to be my candidate that I would stump behind, that I supported fully. But then, this kind of Trump thing does change a lot. And I think it is significant, even if it's not just focusing on the kind of presidential office as we see through Biden. It doesn't really matter. But I think pushing the Overton window, starting conversations, specifically when it came to investigating the events in 2001 that Donald Trump talked about investigating. He talked about auditing the Federal Reserve. Those conversations, and when you look at the larger impact that Ron Paul made during his presidential run, he lost, but look how many people he inspired. Look how many people he influenced. Look at what kind of larger impact he had on so many larger communities out there that really spurred on so many great projects that wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that kind of love-evolution. So right now, Donald Trump appealing to the libertarian base, awesome, incredible. Free Ross, getting rid of the income tax, stopping the wars. Okay, might happen, might not, maybe. You know what? Those ideas are being propelled forward. That's a big victory. And more we're seeing more populist individuals, the Viveks, the individuals who are willing to be more libertarian, be more freedom-oriented, have more of a prominent role in his administration. And with the whole Free Ross thing, he has garnered my support. And I don't say that lightly, because it takes a lot, because I was one of his biggest critics. I still am one of his biggest critics, because I think we should criticize everyone and not adore them and not worship anybody. And this is the time to hold politicians' feet to the fire. But at the same time, we gotta give just as much as they're giving to us. Trump gave a lot at the Libertarian National Convention, and I want to give him credence for that. And I don't want to, just be like Trump all the way. But he has my vote.
I love what you said, because that is so important. It's something that we don't see often enough. You can vote for somebody, but you don't have to believe everything they say. You don't have to worship them. You don't have to love them, because we certainly don't. I think a lot of us here, especially as libertarians, we like what Trump said, but we're not going to be like stumping from him and lying about his record. And
I made a felon for president t-shirt.
The what?
A felon for president
t-shirt.
Yeah, I made that shirt as soon as he became convicted. I was like, I need a convicted felon 2024 shirt, because why not? It's a perfect thing to wear in places like Boston.
Did you put his mugshot on it, though?
Yes, as soon as the mugshot came out. No, we were on it on the bestpoliticalshirts.com. As soon as the mugshots came out, we had the shirts right away, just like any good entrepreneur and business person out there. And as soon as he became convicted, I'm like, I need those shirts as well, because getting it out there and letting people know, hey, the whole system is just trying to undermine him, trying to attack him, and the more they attack him, the more I want to support him.
On the back, it says, "What difference does it make?"
I don't think our shirt says that.
Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. Well, Hillary Clinton's, an interesting person that recently came out of her cave recently, and there's a new photo of her that also just came out here. But again, the race is pretty close, as a lot of people are expecting next week's presidential debate to decide a lot of this upcoming kind of larger presidential race. What do you guys think is going to happen during this debate? A lot of people are saying Biden's just going to be totally out of it. A lot of people are saying Trump is going to be dominating it. There's a lot of rules set that work in favor of Biden. They're going to be cutting off Trump's microphone. They're going to have no live studio audience. They're going to be sitting down. I think they will put out some kind of Biden cyborg, or just pump him up so much full of chemicals that he's going to do a lot better than a lot of people expect him to do, because a lot of people are expecting him just to be a wash, and it could happen. But if you look at the last time they debated, Biden did pretty good. Trump didn't do that well during the last presidential debates that these two had.
Yeah, it's one of those things, it's like similar to watching a movie where your enjoyment of the movie is relative to the expectations you had going in. So, like, if you expected the movie to be terrible and then it was, like, kind of okay, you're like, that wasn't a bad movie. And so I think there's an aspect of this that's happening with with Biden, where the expectations are getting set so low that he comes in and he just, like bumbles a little bit and is, like, mediocrely terrible, and everyone's like, oh, well, he did much better. He was supposed to poop himself and not be able to speak. And so the more the expectations are set in that direction, I actually think the more Biden ends up coming coming out of it just fine.
The more they gaslight everyone into believing a certain idea, and then you kind of turn it around.
It's not even a gaslighting. Like, this is honestly the right's doing it to themselves as much as anything here. Sorry, as someone who wants to shoot it straight. Like, the more that you're saying, like, Biden is this complete, and I'm not saying he's a completely mentally there guy, but the truth is, as you lose it, it's gradual. You're seeing these things happen occasionally. They're not perpetual. He's not, that's my actual opinion. He's not there entirely constantly. And so, yeah, you can probably give him some drugs, and he probably can do an okay job at the debate. And then what happens, you set up this whole narrative about how he's so incompetent and he does fine, and people are like, oh, well, those people were crazy. Those people were lying to me.
Who was that? Who was the fighter that just did that in the UFC? Who did the whole, like, I'm not mentally well, and then he went in, Ryan, he put all these videos out about he got attacked at Bohemian Grove, and he psyoped.
Ryan Garcia.
Yeah, that dude,
yeah.
Right, so it's the same sort of thing. They have low expectations of Biden, so he's going to overperform. They have a perfectly, like, scripted Coliseum for him. He'll have the teleprompters. He'll have everything he needs. And Trump, they've taken the air out of everything he needs. Trump needs an audience to be spontaneous and feed off the crowd.
Yep.
And with no feedback, like, his jokes are going to, his digs are going to fall flat. And so, yeah, it's like, not home field advantage for Biden, but whoever owns Biden and put him there in the first place.
Especially when they turn off his mic when he's going to be responding to someone, because that little remark he made with Hillary Clinton saying that she'll be in jail was, I think, the cherry on top that really propelled them further. And if you remember that election cycle, everyone was saying Hillary is leading in the polls. Hillary's going to win. Hillary's going to dominate. Everyone said it. All the media organizations were saying Trump's absolutely going to lose. And then through the Electoral College, through these swing states, he was able to pull it out, even though he lost the popular vote.
America.
Yeah, so I think we're going to have a very similar situation, and my kind of spicy take on this situation is that Biden probably might etch it out. I think he might do it, and especially since a lot of the swing states are under the control of a lot of Democratic governors, I think it's pretty clear. He has a more favorable advantage. He has the corporate media. He has all the celebrities. He has Jack Black that just came out, Jimmy Kimmel. People, again, you might not like them. We might not want to hear from them. We might not watch them. But there's a huge section of the population that does. And they listen to their every single last word. Jimmy Kimmel also has a very interesting chef. We'll probably talk about him in about 20 minutes from now. We got one super chat here that I wanted to address before talking to Jeremy and the larger kind of crypto issues that he dealt with under the Trump administration that might be changing from everything that Trump is signaling now. As we have a super chat here from Red Viking saying, what happened to Milo last week? So we had Milo Yiannopoulos planned to be in studio with us, and then he had a family emergency and sadly couldn't make it. But we're going to be rescheduling with him, and we're going to make sure that he's going to be in studio with us. I was talking to him for a number of weeks now, and he was like, I'm retired. I don't want to do the show. And I'm like, we let's figure something out. And then I kind of nudged him, and then I'm like, Miami has a lot of different podcasts that you could do. So he was like, yeah, I kind of want to do it. He's a very fascinating, controversial figure that I like to describe akin to kind of Lord Varys. He doesn't like that every time I bring that up to him, but brilliant, fascinating mind, love him or hate him, definitely provides a lot of interesting context. But Jeremy, I wanted to talk about you. You had a kind of free speech social media video platform, and essentially it was kind of directly attacked. What happened, and do you have hopes now with a Trump administration that is saying that he's going to deregulate Bitcoin, he's going to allow Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies to have a fair kind of shake at it in these markets and not be squashed down, not be regulated, not be destroyed like other kind of currencies have been?
Yeah, so I founded Library, which also created Odyssey, and that was a website used by around 40 million people a month to watch videos that were both available in the mainstream as well as things that were having trouble getting distributed. And we faced a lot of scrutiny from the American federal government, ultimately losing a court case that went on for more than 6 years. It cost me millions of dollars to ultimately lose, but it was the only way I felt that we could actually build a company.
With legal battles?
It was legal battles. It was all civil battles. It was nothing criminal. It was brought under Trump, I mean, I think we were honestly relatively small potatoes. I'm not claiming that he even knew the case was brought or anything like that. I do think it was partially political. Like, we were keeping Russia Today online when no one else was. Like, this was one of the few places you could get the stream, and a lot of people were watching it. And, one of the things I said throughout the case was what will ultimately save cryptocurrency is democracy. And I say this as a democracy skeptic. But the reason that cryptocurrency will be saved by democracy is you have this group of people who really care. And for them, it's their top issue. And what's the countervailing force? There's not really a counter people who get animated against crypto. And so you see all these crypto people who are being animated by this issue, rightfully so. It's an important issue. And Trump, I don't think he understands cryptocurrency in the slightest. But do I think he is a man who chases a group that is clearly there to pander to? I think he does, and the Democrats aren't, and Trump is just being smart here. And so the real concern is, will he follow through? But you've got to hope that some of the people that are better at policy, like Vivek, will help get the policy.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think he understands a lot about Bitcoin.
If he did, he would have said free Ross in 2020 and won the election. Because I think that the crypto community at that time would have probably come out and vote.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to be soft about this.
No.
And by the way, it's also about Congress. Like, you've got people like Ryan Selkis, focusing on races across the country, pumping in a bunch of money, millions of dollars into the pro-crypto candidates. And so there's no countervailing force to this. It's everything that's bad about lobbying and concentrated interests is actually in favor of crypto here. Because even though on the bank side, it's a collective action problem to be against cryptocurrency. So you actually got a lot in favor here for it to work out over time.
Well, there's a lot of money. There's a lot of influence. There's a lot of platforms that are saying, hey, Trump, do this for us. We'll help you out here. And there's a lot of money at stake here. We're talking about like $100 million. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of influence. And I really do believe this is going to kind of push everything over the edge to the point where, he's even discussing ideas of using cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin as a way to deal with the national debt. And if we have those kind of larger conversations and we allow America to be a competitive market where actual capitalism could compete, actual good ideas could compete in the fair marketplace, man, things would change dramatically. And I really do believe there's a lot at stake in this election. And I think the future of Bitcoin is one of them. Yeah,
but this is an idea Vivek was introducing back into the conversation, which is a kind of an old libertarian idea, which is ultimately what I believe in the most, is we need to get back to free banking. And this is, so we don't even have to abolish the Fed, although I support abolishing the Fed, don't get it wrong. But if we can get back to just proper competition, then the Fed can be outcompeted. So if you just make the Fed compete in a free market, you don't even have to abolish it. Just make competition legal, and that's actually sufficient to end the Fed, because the Fed won't be the product.
The competition.
Yeah.
I mean, the competition aspect, hold up the gold backs.
Yeah.
Those are non-counterfeitable. They do a contest every year if anyone can try to, and it's actually real money, as opposed to the debt note that gets worth less every year. So if that was allowed in the marketplace, it is, but it doesn't, get much notice from the people yet. But that's actually real money. And so the Fed can only print itself into infinity so far before the hyperinflation hits and everyone realizes the jig is up. And so you don't have to fight them. They're running out of power right now. They're diluting their currency. And Buckminster Fuller said you don't fight the existing forces, you use them and make something that makes their game obsolete, which is gold backs, crypto, whatever you guys in the audience come up with this week, next week. The creativity, the ingenuity, the inventive nature of people could be unleashed if they knew there was a real problem to be solved.
Yeah, getintogoldnow.com and check out the great guys at Alpine Gold that have these gold backs. And again, it's just the small kind of things that do matter, that do add up a lot. And I always kind of made the argument, voting with your dollar is a lot more powerful than actually voting at the ballot box. And I think that's so clear, that's so important, especially in an ever so polarized world where, the future of the dollar, I think Trump realizes, is under threat. And there's a lot of things that signify this, especially when it comes to BRICS nations coming together. together, alternative currencies, Saudi Arabia making a move against the U.S. petrodollar. We have the latest kind of news story here right now with the Russian president that, as of in the making of this video, is meeting with the leadership of North Korea, something that the Daily Mail has described as friends reunited, axes as evil pals reunite together. As of course, strategically, Russia is trying to make counter moves against the economic war that the United States launched against it. And I think it's also fair to say that the larger kind of sanctions, the larger kind of economic war that the United States is carrying out, seizing the assets of private Russian kind of individuals, sends a bad message to the world saying we won't respect the free market, we won't respect capitalism here. And the Biden administration seems to be accelerating that. They seem to be supporting countries like Brazil moving towards China rather than towards the United States. And we saw that with their latest kind of election favorability kind of move against Bolsonaro and supporting Lula, who of course is more centered towards helping China. So I do believe that the dollar is severely getting attacked. You see it at the grocery store. You see it every time you look at your savings. You see it every time the government says, we're going to spend billions of dollars more. We're going to take more of your money. We're just going to print it out of nowhere. And I'm like, there's a cost to this, guys, and I think we're all paying for it now. Do you think there's a future for the U.S. petrodollar? And if Donald Trump will use Bitcoin to deal with the kind of Federal Reserve banking system with the national debt, how do you think he would do it?
Well, feel free to consider. I'll give the blue pill take, or maybe the unpopular one, but it's what I actually think is true. I mean, so I'm very anti-Federal Reserve and inflation. I think this is ultimately a tax of several percent a year on your money, but it's just one tax of many. And bizarrely, the dollar, and this is maybe speaks to other countries and the lack of free markets anywhere, the dollar is actually the most popular currency. Like generally when I have to pay people in other countries, they say, I would like dollars. They don't ask for Bitcoins. If they want cryptocurrency, they ask for dollar versions of cryptocurrency tokens, right? So this, I respect people's revealed preference, and people's revealed preference is they prefer dollars. And so the problem is that you have this sort of secret tax, and we need to point it out. The inflation is this secret tax, but it's just one tax of many. To me, inflation is just another 5%, maybe. I don't know exactly what the number is. I'm not trying to make a strong claim on the number, but the point is, it's just another drop in the bucket of the overall bucket of taxation, and that's my take.
And that's a valid point, and I would point out that Ed Griffin started his whole career because he did a presentation on the hidden invisible tax, and that led to his book, Creature from Jekyll Island.
A great book that woke up a lot of people. Surprisingly, a lot of people read that book and their whole mindset just like shifted, especially when it comes to kind of understanding what's really happening behind the closed doors of power and money.
And I read the kids' version now. I read the Tuttle Twins. I read them all the time to my kids. You got all the Tuttle Twins, every single child. There's hundreds of children around here at PorkFest, and it's like all the kinds of parents who are buying their kids Tuttle
Shout out
Twins
to Connor
books.
Boyack.
Yeah, he's great.
That's another kind of white pill moment, being at PorkFest. Not only being able to touch grass, be in beautiful nature, but to see all the kids around everywhere, running around crazy, selling stuff, bartering, being entrepreneurs, and really just being totally free, wild children. You don't see that in Boston. You don't see that in New York City. You don't see that in San Francisco, and it really does feel like society is kind of moving towards a way where you have this like ultra super smart, super capable small group of children, and then you have everyone else that's on SSRIs and are obese and are chopping off their you-know-what in order to fit in with the social media algorithms that are fed in their minds. You don't see a lot of kids here on their cell phones. You see a lot of kids here running around. Yeah.
I haven't seen a single child here on their device, actually.
Yeah, I will say my 6-year-old bought his first knife this week, so now he owns his own knife and is biking around on his bike all by himself. I mean, he's never demonstrated violence really, and it's not the sharpest knife, but he went out and bought his own knife this week with his own money that he had earned, and he is going to be responsible with it, and that's like the kind of thing that people are mostly cool with here, and it's kind of different from a lot of other places.
I think you'd peer into the hearts of so many people out there. Like, what? A 6-year-old with a knife?
I think that tells you a lot about the audience of people that think like that, because it's a tool. Why would you think of it as a weapon? He can cut his sandwich with it. He could put, butter his bread with it. You could use it for all sorts
and
of
also,
things.
he already can.
Right.
Like, and this is also why it's like there's already, if you think about your house, like the 6-year-old can already get a sharp knife if they want. That's already
in the kitchen.
It's already in reach.
If they're in Chicago, they could get a lot more than a knife, especially if they're small children.
Yeah.
So there's that,
He's certainly curious about where the guns are kept, but he can't get to those yet.
I like how you put that "yet" in there.
Oh, there will be an age where we'll absolutely decide that he should have the right to exercise.
Well, proper training as far as just safety, I think, is just key towards making sure no one ever gets hurt. And I think it's a huge personal responsibility that people absolutely need to take seriously. I've been coming here for a while. A lot of people open carry here, and I think a lot of people do take it seriously. I don't think throughout all the years that I've been coming here, there's been one kind of negative incident.
It's like a mix of seriousness plus good decision-making skills. And everyone here over the past 10, 12 years.
Yeah.
I've never seen an
RFK,
incident.
I don't think anyone really
that was a good protest
towards that.
That was a good protest.
And my argument was like RFK's safer here than he is anywhere else.
You mentioned
but there was a grassy knoll, so that probably impacted his behavior here last year. Where
I never saw so many people in kit. There's people here that I've seen for years. I never would have thought they had night vision goggles and plate armor and M4, and they were all so peaceful right outside the velvet rope and the metal detector.
To Vivek's credit, that year Vivek was here, and he did not ask anyone to disarm.
That's true.
As a matter of fact, I posted a photo that I took with him with a weapon on my hip, and I asked him, "Do you want me to take it off?" And he was like, "No." So, I mean, I think everybody comes here, and they're able to, get along and have this...
I gave Vivek credit because I saw the most kind of autistic, Aspergery, angry libertarians line up to debate him on the minutia of issues. And he said, "You know what? I'll debate you. I'll have that conversation," and he did. So shouts out to him for listening, giving his counterpoints, and he wasn't pandering. He's like, "I disagree with this. I agree with this." So I think Vivek is really doing an incredible job, and one of the reasons why we always kind of interviewed him, talked to him, and we're highlighting him as much as we were, because when Donald Trump was saying, let's give the FBI a new building, he was saying abolish the FBI, which is a very important talking point. Which brings me to this super chat by Doc Holliday, who says, "Poor Luke just can't escape the gasp of TDS. So sad. I'm voting for him. What else do you want?"
Yeah. Right?
Man, give me something here, as we have another mysuperchat.com from Clint's Liberated Pride Hole that says, "Hola, amigos." Hola, Clint's Liberated Pride Hole. And again, Clint couldn't be here because he's sad about his girlfriend getting a new boyfriend, but he probably will be here this Thursday with Chris Martinson and this Friday with Spike Cohan. So definitely subscribe, click the notification button. Before we move over towards the free speech platform, we wanted to tell you about one of our amazing sponsors, and that, of course, is landofbiltong.com. I love these guys. They are incredible. They are a family-friendly snack. They're a family-owned business. It's low in carbs, packed with protein, and Biltong is, to me, the ultimate health snack. I love this stuff. I wish I would have brought some. I think maybe this is why Clint isn't here, because I didn't bring any, and this is how we predominantly pay Clint. That's how good some of this stuff is. It's a great source of iron, also serves as a source of several other essential nutrients, including magnesium, potassium, B vitamins, and it translates into exceptional gains in all aspect of life. High in protein, carnivore-based diet. If you're interested in any of that, go check them out. Land of Biltong. Promo code WRC for free shipping. And if your purchase qualifies for, if your purchase is over $45, you could use another promo code and get 10% off with WRC10. Check them out. Land of Biltong. My producer now will make sure to, of course, put in the promo code and the website there so you guys could support the businesses that support us. As, of course, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for sponsors and businesses that actually do provide a good service. And again, I think voting with your dollar is key, and that's why I am a proud supporter of Land of Biltong, because it's a great product. I use it. There's no BS behind it. There's no sugars. There's no soys. And it's really, really great stuff. And go check them out. As we now move over and transition over towards the free speech platform, where you guys will be able to say say whatever you want without any restrictions and limitations.
Real truth is coming out.
Before we leave
I have a lot of words to
platform.
say to you, Martha. They're not going to be said until we cut over.
It's going to get crazy, and as it does, before we do move over, we did get news that Rumble is back up, and it is working. So we're going to transfer over the conversation there, and I think we are on the front page, but I'm going to double check that right now. Before that, Martha, where can people find out more information about you?
You can find me on Twitter or X and Instagram at Bueno for Miami.
And then Jeremy, where can people find out more information about you?
Just follow me on X at my full name, Jeremy Kaufman.
And then Richard.
I host the Grand Theft World podcast Sunday nights, grandtheftworld.com, and my course is listed at getautonomy.info. Thank you.
All right, and since we're doing a live show here at PorkFest, I think we have one of our members here in studio watching us. I don't know if that person left or not, but we're going to be taking callers. A caller might be in real life, but we also have one caller waiting. That's a member of lukeunfiltered.com that we're going to be going to in about 30 minutes from now as we move over towards the free speech platform. And again, voting with your likes, voting with your clicks, incentivizing free speech platforms, more important than ever. Jeremy, I think, absolutely agrees with that, as I think it's more important than ever. Hey, these places, technocratic hellscapes.